Hey, it's Hirsch and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be drawing my subscribers' characters in my style. I picked 2 subscribers' characters to draw from all the submissions that I got to draw this week, but don't worry, you will always have a chance to get chosen later on since this is an ongoing series on my channel. If you would like to send me your OC, which stands for original character, you can email them to me at hersheydrawsyt@gmail.com. You can include like a picture, a name if they have it, and whatever other information you want me to share in the video, as well as what you'd like me to refer to you as in the video itself. But yeah. So this has probably been my most requested video as of late because it has been 7 months since my last one. So yeah, it's definitely been more than a hot minute, and I feel like every time I try to film one of these videos, something always has to go wrong, especially when it's like this type of video specifically where I draw your characters. Either I get art block right as I'm like setting up the filming equipment, or I'm getting super busy that week, or all the sketches that I tried to create never end up like being to my standard. And I always have to redo it, and then by the time that I create the sketch that I actually like, the paper is already ruined, and I just have to leave it as a sketch because color markers won't really work on a page that's that damaged. Anyways, I decided that it was finally time to stop procrastinating and do another drawing your OCs video, so I also tried a different approach to hopefully inspire me. If you have watched my other videos from this series, you know that I usually do like 3 characters on one single sketchbook page, and though it does usually take less time, I also don't get to draw all the characters fully. So I decided to instead just do 2 characters this time, but draw them on separate pages. It did take longer this way, but I feel like this also makes it more fair to everyone who sends in their characters. But let me know if you guys do prefer this version or the other version where I just draw all your characters on like one single page. I have also been thinking maybe I could do like 4 characters but on one whole spread, so 2 pages. I would do full bodies for all of them because I feel like that would look really cool. So it would be like 2 characters on one page and then 2 characters on the others, and they'd all be like standing up. I don't know if that actually makes sense, but it would definitely take a super long time. So I don't know if I'll be able to do it with school starting and everything, but hopefully if I have like a long break or like a vacation or something, I can try doing that. Moving on to the characters themselves, the first one that I'm drawing is called Willow. She's on the left, and the other one is Bailey, who's on the right. I'll be talking more about each character specifically and like the details about them when I'm coloring them, but for now I'm just doing the liner using my microns as usual. I went ahead and just did one line width throughout first, and then I erased my sketch, and I feel like one of the things that I always do is erasing my sketch like way too early, and the liner isn't always completely dry, so it always ends up smudging around the face area, especially like the mouth or the eyes, and then it's super hard to fix even with white gel pen and whatnot. However, this time I did take a break to do my homework in between, and then I came back and erased the sketch, and after I just added some line with variation to spice up the liner, and that's pretty much it, and it did not end up smudging, which I am very happy about. I think with sketching, I struggle to find a pose a lot of the times, especially for Willow in this case, since I want to show off her personality that was like in the original drawing, but also not make it too complicated in comparison to Bailey's pose. However, I do really like how both poses came out, and yeah, here's the finished liner for both characters, and now we're moving on to coloring. So the first character I'm coloring is named Willow, like I mentioned before, and she was sent to me by Sophia. Willow is an elf who has entered the human world, and Sophia mentioned that their story for this character is in progress, which is just like mine. So basically Willow does meet like a human who she befriends along the way of her journey, and her aesthetic is described as very cottagecore or fairycore, which I can definitely see through her design, especially her like dress outfit, or I think that's a shirt. She can also become a lot more open and become more friendly once you get to know her, which I guess means that she's probably like super shy or like super quiet at first. And she also loves animals, which is probably a given with her being an elf and all, and elves being like related to nature and whatever. So I think one of the things that I love the most about Willow's design is definitely her eyes. I don't know if I did them any justice in my version, but they're literally so pretty with like the blue to peach gradient from the top to the bottom, especially since it contrasts with her other colors so much, with her skin and her hair being like a lot darker. So I did start coloring the skin to begin with, like light like this color, but you can see that I darkened it later on. Her skin seemed like a lot more tan in the reference picture, so that is why I went over it. And I also added a blue highlight to the hair to match with her eyes and also contrast with the brown, because orange is the opposite to it on the color wheel. See guys, I do know color theory, I swear. Also, adding blush for like tan or darker skin especially is so much fun because I can absolutely go ham and it will still look nice even if I add way too much blush. I usually add them to like the face area, like the cheeks or the mouth and the nose, and I also add them to like the shoulders, the elbows, or fingertips, whatever other area is exposed. Basically like the joints, I guess, but yeah, that's what I usually do, and it ends up looking really nice and glowy. I also made the top of her hair pink tinted. I actually don't remember doing that, but looking back at the speed paint, apparently I did. I'm not sure what that accomplished, but yeah. Here I'm adding in some more shadows to her hair, especially darkening the areas around her highlights so that they pop out a lot more, because right now they're like a really similar shade to her original hair color. Also, since I did darken the skin, I wanted the hair to be slightly darker as well so they don't like blend together so much. Also, for coloring her dress was green in the reference picture. I think it was hard to find the right color for her dress because I didn't want it to be like a super deep, like dark green, but I also didn't have a shadow color for that green, and I don't think it would have matched that much since it did make the drawing like slightly lighter than the reference picture. Also, finding colors in general was hard for both of these drawings because I haven't unpacked any of my markers yet from the vacation that I went on. They're still literally sitting in one bag like next to my desk, and I need to sort them out when I have time into like all their individual packs or whatever. The bottom part of the outfit was also not in the reference image, so I did take creative liberties with that part and assumed that she would like be wearing a brown skirt or something because she's an elf. Maybe it would be like made of leather or like maybe leaves or something. I actually don't know how it would be made of leaves. But yeah, I feel like I also could have made it where like that top like green part of her dress or like shirt was like an actual full body dress. I feel like that would have looked very cute, and it's definitely giving very like cottagecore vibes. Here I'm just adding in any finishing shadows for the greens. I did end up adding like these like lighter green parts to like the sides of her dress. There isn't really like much lighting going on here that makes a lot of sense, so basically just ignore all that. But blending it was definitely super hard, especially since the darker green that I used for the shadow was a lot more saturated than the lighter green that I ended up using for like the base color. And I also went over the highlights because they were looking super vibrant. For finishing touches, I just went ahead and added some highlights using my white gel pen, which is definitely my favorite part or like my guilty pleasure in any drawing, especially when I'm doing drawings with alcohol markers or something like that, when it just looks so clean and refined after I add in all the highlights. Adding the highlights is also super fun, especially since her skin tone is a lot more saturated, probably because of all the blush that I added, which you can definitely see when it's zoomed in like here. And then I also added a blue background to match the highlights on her hair and her eyes. Anyways, that's pretty much it for Willow's drawing, and now we're going to be moving on to the next OC. So the next character that I'm drawing is called Bailey, and she was sent to me by Akshara. I've actually wanted to draw Bailey so many times. I keep on passing by her whenever I'm like scrolling through all the submissions that I get, because every time that I see her design, it's just literally so pretty and it's actually so cute and aesthetic that I finally managed to do her justice and create a drawing that I actually like of her. So Bailey is 14 years old and she lives with her single dad. I'm assuming that this is like a non-magical world, which is like in contrast to Willow's world. But her mom left her when she was super young, and Bailey's hobbies include drawing and reading, which is very similar to me, and she has like a very overall cute aesthetic, which I mentioned before, and her favorite color is yellow. So obviously Bailey does have a paler complexion in comparison to Willow, so I did use less blush, but still like in the same places that I mentioned before. In the reference picture, I couldn't tell if it was just the lighting or not, but I made her hair color super similar to her skin tone, just like slightly more yellow tone, but it does get darker towards the end, which is honestly so pretty, especially since the way that I tried doing it, I tried blending in like the shadows towards the end into the shadows towards the back of the hair. I don't know if that actually makes sense, but I think it looks really pretty. I also really like the pose that I drew Bailey in, especially like her hand placement. Also, I did think I made a mistake in this drawing by making her shirt this lime green color instead of yellow. I thought that it was green by looking at the picture, but it may have been like the lighting that the picture was taken in. But reading the description wherein Akshara mentions that Bailey's favorite color is yellow, I think that the top is actually meant to be yellow along with a little headband because it's her favorite color. But I did actually make it green, but I hope that's fine. I really do love how I shaded the top though, because I used a darker, more saturated green as well as a purple for like the shadow areas. I think they actually look really good, especially since like purple contrasts with the green a lot. And like I mentioned before, I just used the same colors for the little headband in her hair, and I think the same colors for her eyes as well. The shorts I drew were also like blue. I'm assuming that they're like a denim material, and I tried adding texture to them by layering like a light alcohol marker on top of a darker one. I don't know if it actually worked or not, but it does end up adding like this little grainy texture, which could be taken as denim. I think at this point I did realize that the drawing was like looking a little bit weird, and I couldn't tell why, but then I realized it was because I didn't shade the skin yet. Usually I like go in an order where I do all the base colors first and then I add in all the shadows, or like that's what I do for my digital art. And since I haven't drawn traditionally in a while, I think I got used to that. But now I like kind of mix it up because I did the base colors for the skin, but then everything else I went ahead and added the details right as I was shading them. But yeah, that kind of confused me. I also ended up coloring her bag this like really cute brown pastel color, and I also added this like gold buckle to add some more like variation or whatever. And now moving on to the finishing details. Again, I added the pupils with a black marker, and I also added the eye highlights with my white gel pen. I also cleaned up several parts where the markers like leaked outside because I did layer a lot, especially near the top area like I mentioned before. And then I also made the background pink because I thought it contrasted nicely with the lime green. I was thinking about making the same blue color that I used for Willow, but I feel like that would have been really like matchy and also like blended into well with her pants. But yeah, here are the finished results. Thank you guys so much for watching till the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!